Hello and welcome to the news update on Papyrus Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Before we begin, here are the headlines. Public commentator blasts Buhari's painful legacy despite book launch. House of Representatives adopts electronic voting for constitution review votes. Reps raise alarm over discrepancies in gazetted tax laws. NLC calls on federal government to tackle insecurity, says no Nigerian is safe anywhere. Peter Obi reacts to Nigeria-France MOU. Buhari reveals why he did not back Osibanjo's presidential ambition. Former Niger governor warns, says APC is driving Nigeria towards one-party state. And now the news in full. Public affairs commentator Mahdi Shehu has issued a sharp critique of the legacy of former President Muhammadu Buhari, arguing that no number of books celebrating the late leader can erase what he describes as a painful and controversial aspect of his tenure. Shehu's remarks come amid public debate following the unveiling of Buhari's biography, From Soldier to Statesman, The Legacy of Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja, an event attended by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and other dignitaries. In his commentary, Shehu acknowledged the wave of publications seeking to contextualize Buhari's 8-year presidency, but insisted that criticisms of his policies and leadership decisions are deeply ingrained in Nigeria's collective memory. He maintained that while historical accounts and praise-oriented books provide insight, they cannot fully mask or soften the tangible hardships experienced under the administration. The biography at the center of the debate was presented as part of efforts to document Buhari's contributions and provide researchers and the public with a detailed account of his political life and governance philosophy. Supporters of the book argue that it offers valuable lessons and preserves national history for future generations. In a move seen as part of broader efforts to modernize legislative procedures, the House of Representatives has adopted electronic voting for its upcoming votes on proposed constitutional amendments. The announcement was made by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas during plenary on 17 December 2025 ahead of crucial votes by lawmakers. Electronic voting will be used when the House considers and votes on changes to the Constitution, and a significant departure from traditional voice or show of hands voting methods that have been standard for high-stakes legislative decisions. The adoption of digital voting technology aims to improve transparency, accuracy, and accountability in recording individual lawmakers' positions on constitutional reform. Constitutional amendments require the support of at least two-thirds of members of the House to pass, and the use of electronic voting is expected to provide a clear and verifiable record of each representative's vote. The reforms under consideration include governance and electoral changes intended to strengthen Nigeria's federal and democratic systems. Observers and legislative experts have welcomed the shift as a step towards modernizing Nigeria's parliamentary processes, noting that clear vote records can reduce disputes and enhance public confidence in how key national decisions are made. A member of Nigeria's House of Representatives, Honorable Abdulsamad Dasuki, PDP Sokoto, has sounded a strong warning about significant inconsistencies in the tax laws recently gazetted by the federal government, saying the versions now in public circulation differ from what lawmakers actually passed. During Wednesday, December 17th plenary session, Dasuki said he had personally compared the tax bills passed earlier this year, including the Nigeria Tax Act and the Nigeria Tax Administration Act, slated to take effect from January 1st, 2026, with the copies gazetted by the Ministry of Information. He told colleagues that some clauses, including commencement dates and specific provisions, do not match the harmonized versions approved by the National Assembly. Dasuki framed the issue as more than just an oversight. He described it as a possible breach of Nigeria's constitution and legislative process. He urged Speaker Tajuddin Abbas to direct that all relevant documents, including the originally passed texts, the harmonized versions agreed by both chambers, and the gazetted copies be presented to the Committee of the Whole for scrutiny and necessary corrections. The Speaker acknowledged the concern and said the matter would be taken up to ensure legislative intent is properly reflected in the officially published texts. The Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) has issued a stark warning to the federal government and state authorities, saying the country's security situation has deteriorated to the point that no Nigerian is safe anywhere. The statement came as the union mobilized for a nationwide protest to press for urgent action on insecurity affecting citizens across the federation. In a series of public comments and rallies, NLC leaders, including President Joe Ajaero, said escalating incidents of kidnapping, banditry, attacks on workers, and other violent crimes demonstrate a failure by authorities to protect lives and property. The union's nationwide mobilization saw workers and civil society allies gathering in Abuja with protests planned for December 17th to draw attention to what organizers called the government's inaction on insecurity. Ahead of the protest, Heavy security deployments were reported in the capital, including police and Department of State Services personnel, as the NLC sought to keep demonstration peaceful while signaling broad frustration among workers and citizens. The union held that insecurity is not only a threat to life, but also to economic activity, investor confidence, and workers' livelihoods. We will now go on a short break, and when we come back, the news will continue. Stay tuned.
The Papiros Global, we don't just cover events, we create cinematic experiences. From red carpets to birthdays, gala dinners, and your fairy tale weddings, we bring your moments to life with high-tech precision. Our gadgets are smarter, our lenses sharper, and our team simply world-class. Trust the Papiros Global to tell your story in the boldest, brightest way possible.
Welcome back, and now the news will continue. Former Vice President and Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi has reacted to the recently signed Memorandum of Understanding between Nigeria and France on tax cooperation, underscoring that any overhaul of the nation's tax system must be rooted in trust, transparency, and fairness. Obi's comments come as Nigerians and stakeholders assess the implications of the agreement, which is intended to strengthen tax administration and information exchange between the two countries. In his response, Obi welcomed international collaboration on taxation, but warned that technical fixes alone will not produce the desired results unless citizens and businesses have confidence in how revenue is raised, managed, and spent. The former presidential candidate argued that trust in government institutions must accompany policy reforms if Nigeria is to significantly improve tax yields without overburdening already struggling households and enterprises. Obi's critics align with wider public concerns over how tax proceeds are allocated and the perceived disconnect between tax policy and improvements in public services. Obi called on government and civil society leaders to engage in constructive dialogue on tax reform and prioritizes accountability and strengthens democratic oversight mechanisms. Former President Muhammadu Buhari has reportedly explained his decision not to back Professor Yemi Osinbajo's presidential ambition ahead of the 2023 election, saying he did not have a personal relationship with his former deputy outside formal introductions. The disclosure emerges from a newly released biography titled From Soldier to Statesman: The Legacy of Muhammadu Buhari, written by Dr. Charles Omole and presented officially in Abuja. According to the biography, Buhari was surprised by Osinbajo's decision to contest the presidency, particularly because Osinbajo chose to compete against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who had been a central figure in the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) and was widely regarded as a political benefactor to both Buhari and Osinbajo. In describing his relationship with Osinbajo, Buhari is quoted as saying that he only knew him through Tinubu and had no deeper personal familiarity with him, a factor that influenced his decision to withhold explicit support for Osinbajo's candidacy. The book suggests that Buhari found it strange that his vice president would challenge Tinubu, a political heavyweight linked to Oshibanjo's rise within the party, and instead opted to remain neutral amid calls for him to back a preferred successor. Analysts who have reviewed excerpts said his posture reflected both internal APC dynamics and Buhari's preference to avoid overly favoring one candidate over another in an already competitive primary. Observers see the revelation as a window into the intricate political calculations that shaped the 2023 APC presidential contest, where loyalty lines, personal relationships, and strategic alliances played key roles. Former Niger State Governor and Chairman of the former Governors Forum, Babangida Aliyu, has raised serious concerns about the state of Nigeria's democracy, asserting that the ruling All Progressives Congress is pushing the country toward a one-party state. Aliyu made the remarks while speaking at an interactive session between the People's Democratic Party National Working Committee and the former Ministers Forum, where he expressed alarm over political defections and the shrinking space for opposition parties. Aliyu pointed to the wave of political defections from opposition parties, particularly the PDP, into the APC, including several governors and political heavyweights, as symptomatic of an increasingly dominant ruling party that risks undermining the multi-party system entrenched by Nigeria's constitution. According to Aliyu, such developments dangerously erode democratic checks and balances and edge the nation closer to a de facto one-party system. In his remarks, Aliyu stressed that a vibrant opposition is essential to democratic accountability and should serve as a critical check on executive authority. He expressed support for the leadership of the PDP's recently elected National Working Committee under Kabiru Tanimu Turaki's SAN, praising efforts to rebuild and reposition the party. However, APC supporters and party officials have dismissed such claims as unfounded and politically motivated. Party chieftains argue that defections reflect voluntary realignment within Nigeria's constitutional democracy and the presence of multiple active parties at federal and state levels continues to affirm Nigeria's multi-party status. Critics of Aliyu's views, including APC figures, contend that the dominant party does not necessarily equate to a one-party system if opposition parties remain constitutionally empowered and electorally competitive. And that's all we have on the news on Buhari'S Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Thanks for joining us.